If they had turned back just 5 minutes earlier, everything would have been different. But the forest doesn't forgive hesitation, especially not that forest. Josh, Emily, Nick, and Matt had been friends since high school. This year, they all turned 30. Life had taken each of them in different directions. One got married, one got divorced, another moved across the country, and one never left their hometown. But once a year, they all honored the same tradition. A no phones, no work camping trip together. This time, Nick found something interesting. A forgotten trail deep in the woods of northern Maine, near a lake that only appeared on very old maps. The locals once called it Black Mirror Lake. You couldn't find it on Google Maps, and no GPS would guide you there. Just coordinates from a scanned topographical survey dated 1974. Emily hesitated at first. Wait, if it's not on any map, are we sure it's even real? Or maybe it's cursed, Matt joked. Josh smirked. All the more reason to go. They took a train north, then a rural bus, then hiked the last few miles on foot, pushing deeper into a forest that grew darker and thicker the further they walked. Finally, they saw it. The lake was completely black, not from pollution, just unnaturally dark. It didn't reflect the sky. It didn't ripple. It looked like a flat, endless hole carved into the earth. On the opposite bank stood the remains of an old forest ranger's cabin, half burned and tilting to one side. They pitched their tents nearby and made a fire as night fell. They drank tea, laughed, told stories from when they were kids. Then Emily paused. Do you guys hear that? Everyone went silent. She was right. There were no sounds, no birds, no wind, no insects, just stillness. It was like the forest was holding its breath. Matt brushed it off. Big deal. We're in the middle of nowhere. But that night, Emily woke to a sound splashing, soft and rhythmic, like someone slowly wading through shallow water. She unzipped the tent and peeked out. No one was there. But on the shore, in the mud, were bare footprints. She told no one. The next morning, Matt went into the woods to gather firewood. He never came back. At first, they weren't worried. He liked to play pranks, disappear and scare people. But 2 hours passed, then 3, then night fell. They searched with flashlights, shouting his name. No answer. But they found something else. Strange symbols carved into trees. Circles with triangles inside them. Emily insisted they leave. Josh refused. We're not abandoning him. He might be hurt. He might be lost. We wait. That night, Nick woke to the sound of someone breathing just outside his tent. Slow, raspy, too close. He zipped it open fast. No one was there. But in the dirt nearby, there were 2 sets of barefoot tracks, side by side. Nick didn't wake the others. The next day, while searching, they stumbled on a hole in the ground, half covered in leaves and branches. Inside was a rusted ladder descending into darkness. An old military bunker, long forgotten. They climbed down. Inside were decaying bunk beds, broken lights, old Soviet-era radio equipment. In the center of the far wall was a steel door, painted with red letters. Do not open, under any circumstances. Nick begged them to leave. But Josh was spiraling, desperate, angry, exhausted. He kicked the lock until it snapped. The room beyond was lined in lead plates. There were chains on the floor, and in the center, a human skeleton, bolted to the ground. On the wall above it, scratched into the metal in Latin, Vivit in tenebris. He lives in the dark. Emily screamed. From the hallway behind them, they heard footsteps, heavy, getting closer. They ran. On the surface, the forest had changed. The sky was black with clouds. The wind came from every direction. Trees were bending like rubber. A storm, but unnatural. As they fled, Nick fell into a ravine and vanished. Emily and Josh ran blindly toward the lake. They didn't remember how they found the road. They didn't remember the truck driver who stopped to help. Only that suddenly, They were back in the town, back in the noise, the light, the warmth. Josh didn't say a word the entire trip home. He looked different, almost like he didn't recognize her. 3 weeks later, the police had found nothing. No Matt. No Nick. No lake. Just empty pine forest. Emily moved back in with her parents. Josh stopped responding to her calls. She went to his apartment. The door was unlocked. Inside, the walls were covered in carvings. The same symbol from the trees, circle with triangle, over and over. Dozens, hundreds. On one wall, scratched deep into the plaster. He came back with me. She turned around. In the mirror across the room, she saw Josh standing behind her. Only, it wasn't Josh. It wore his skin, but its eyes were empty, and it was smiling. When even your own breath disappears in the woods, it's either time to run or pray. It's not too late. Jake's parents would have never let him go if they knew where he was headed. He was just an ordinary 20-year-old college student from Oregon. That year, he and his 3 friends set out on a trip to the Siskiyou Mountains officially. It was for a school geography project. Unofficially, they just wanted to get off the grid. There were 4 of them: Jake, Ryan, Claire, and Megan. All classmates, all confident that they knew how to handle the wilderness. Ryan was the one who found the weird trail. It appeared on a few scanned topographic maps from the 1950s, marked only as Hunter's Path. No modern maps showed it. No GPS could track it. Maybe it's closed, Megan said. Maybe they wiped it on purpose, Ryan smirked. That just makes it more interesting. They turned off the main route. And that's when everything started to go wrong. First, the signal vanished. No cell reception, no bars, nothing. Then came the noises at night, breathing outside their tents, low muttering in a language no one could understand. Claire woke up once and swore she saw a hand pressed against the mesh of her tent, pale, glowing, motionless. But by morning, no tracks, no prints. Jake noticed something else. The birds had stopped singing. The woods were too quiet, like everything was holding its breath. On the 3rd day, they came across a still smoldering fire, but no people nearby. Scattered around it were torn clothes, a flashlight, and a small child's backpack. Next to it, scribbled on a water-damaged scrap of paper, "He doesn't like when people speak." Ryan insisted they keep going. He seemed off. His eyes were twitchy, his voice sharp and unhinged. Megan wanted to turn back. Claire was terrified. They agreed to camp one more night and decide in the morning. That night, Ryan vanished. No signs of a struggle. His tent was unzipped, his boots were gone. The forest remained completely silent. Jake tried to yell. Nothing came out. No sound at all. It was like something had clogged his throat, like his voice had been stolen. Claire picked up a stick and scratched into the dirt. It's not letting us speak. The next morning, they found Ryan's camera sitting on a mossy stump. They watched the last recording. Ryan was filming trees, talking softly. "Do you hear that?" Then, he turned the camera, and for a split second, something passed through the frame. A humanoid shape, long and dark, with a face that had no eyes. Megan screamed. That's when Ryan walked out of the woods. Same clothes, same face, but wrong. His eyes didn't move. His voice was flat. "I get it now. It's better this way. Quiet." He stood completely still. Claire bolted into the trees and never came back. Jake and Megan were alone now. They tried finding their way back, but their compass spun in circles. GPS was dead. The forest seemed to shift. Trees looked different. Trails they'd walked before no longer existed. That night, they saw figures in the darkness, dozens of them. Some looked tall, others child-sized, but all of them moved unnaturally fast, in sudden, jerky bursts. Megan broke down. "We see you! We're not afraid of you!" she shouted. Jake's heart sank. "You shouldn't have said that," he whispered. The figure started moving toward them. Jake woke up alone. Megan was gone. No prints, no sounds, just that same crushing silence. He walked for what felt like hours. Eventually, he came to a clearing and realized it was the same place they'd camped on the first night. Exactly the same trees, same log, same moss. Except this time, there was someone sitting on the log. Himself. The other Jake looked up and smiled. "It's okay now," the copy said. "It's already over." A month later, a search team found Jake alone, sitting beside a dead fire. He didn't speak. His expression was vacant, as if nothing inside him had survived. He just kept whispering, over and over again. He doesn't like when people speak. If you enter a forest that doesn't appear on any map, don't expect it to let you leave. Some places don't forget your footsteps. The last known photo of Ben Watkins shows him laughing, holding a campfire skewer, his hoodie half-zipped, with thick forest shadows creeping behind him. The picture was taken by his girlfriend Emily just 2 days before everything went wrong. Ben, Emily, and 2 of their friends Chris and Jenna had planned the trip for months. It was meant to be their final getaway before graduation. No signal, no schoolwork, no pressure. Just the 4 of them, the trees, and a borrowed camper van. They chose Pine Creek State Forest in northern Washington, remote, dense, and barely visited since a wildfire swept through part of it 10 years ago. A perfect place to disappear from the world for a week. What they didn't know was that some sections of Pine Creek never fully recovered, and some were never meant to be disturbed at all. They arrived on a cool Friday morning. Everything seemed normal at first. Laughter, stories, hiking, pictures of mushrooms and moss. Chris even joked that they were the last kids alive who weren't addicted to TikTok. But by the second night, things started to feel off. Emily was the first to notice that the woods weren't behaving. She said she heard a voice in the trees, repeating her name, but no one else heard it. They brushed it off as wind or her imagination. That night, she woke up screaming. She swore she'd seen a man outside the tent, just standing there, not moving, watching. Ben ran outside with a flashlight. Nothing. No tracks, no sounds. But the strange part? His flashlight, which had brand new batteries, started flickering and then died completely. The next morning, Jenna was gone. Her sleeping bag was zipped open. Her shoes were gone. So was her phone. They searched for hours, yelling, retracing paths. At one point, Chris spotted a figure deep in the trees, a woman, he thought, wearing what looked like Jenna's red jacket. He shouted. The figure turned and bolted, faster than anyone could run. They chased for maybe 2 minutes, then stopped. There were no footprints, no broken branches, nothing to prove anyone had been there. They went to the rangers. Only one older ranger was there that day, a man named Walt. When they explained the situation, he looked uncomfortable. "Are you sure she didn't just leave? Walked out, angry or confused?" "No," Ben said. "She would have told us." Walt scratched his beard. "There are spots in this forest the fire didn't touch, places people don't go. You might have stumbled into one." "What does that mean?" Emily asked. He hesitated. "I'll drive up with you tomorrow. Don't go looking tonight. If she's out there, it's best to let her find her own way back." That night, Chris disappeared. Ben and Emily were the only ones left. They tried to leave, packing up what they could, but every turn they took on the trail seemed to lead them back to the same clearing. 3 times in a row. Emily broke down crying. "We're stuck. We're in a loop or something." Ben didn't want to admit it, but he felt it too. The forest had become wrong. Too quiet, too symmetrical. Every tree looked the same. The wind didn't move the branches. The birds were gone. They built a fire and stayed close. That night, around 2 a.m., they heard whispering again. Not one voice dozens. Some whispered their names. Others spoke in a deep, rasping language neither of them had ever heard. Then they saw something in the trees. Not people, not animals. Tall, thin shapes that pulsed in and out of the shadows, like flickering frames of a broken film reel. Limbs too long, heads too low. Ben whispered, "Don't move, don't look." But Emily did. She locked eyes with one of the figures, and the moment she did, she dropped to her knees. "Emily!" Ben shouted, shaking her. She was frozen, eyes wide open, unblinking. Her mouth moved, but no sound came out. Then blood began to run slowly from her ears. Ben dragged her away from the clearing and tried to carry her. She was breathing, but unconscious. Every few minutes, her mouth would twitch, like she was mouthing something silently. At dawn, she woke up, but she didn't recognize him. She screamed and clawed at his face. "You're not Ben," she sobbed. "Ben's gone. You have his skin, but you're not him." She ran before he could stop her. Ben wandered alone for 2 days. No food, no idea which direction was real anymore. Eventually, he saw a cabin. Old, moss-covered, with fog curling around the roof, smoke rising from the chimney. He approached, knocked. The door opened on its own. Inside were photos pinned to the wall, sold yellowing Polaroids of people he didn't recognize. Dozens of them, all staring into the camera. Blank expressions, eyes dilated. And one picture in the center, newer than the others. Jenna. She was smiling, but her eyes were pitch black. Ben turned to run, but the door slammed shut behind him. The search team found Ben 3 weeks later, naked, curled in a fetal position at the base of a tree. He was mumbling nonsense. Over and over again, he repeated a phrase. "The trees remember. The forest sees. The forest keeps." Emily, Chris, and Jenna were never found. And the most disturbing detail? The photos in the cabin, according to the search team, were all gone. The walls were bare, as if they'd never existed at all.